Hey, everybody, it is Sherry Downer here at Tier 1 Interventions Podcast. It's great to have you here with us where we talk about the core of the math classroom. Today, we're going to be talking more about pizzas, rectangles, lockers. Oh my!
Back on March 10th, 2026, we started a 10-segment series Both. Here is segment 3 from our October workshop. If you are enjoying what you are learning, please subscribe and leave a comment.
I think that was the right order. Over to John Lee.
And there are two examples. When I want these kids to know how many inches are in a foot, I'm just going to tell them. I'm going to tell them, I'm going to tell them, I'm going to tell them, and then they're going to tell me. They're going to tell me. They're going to tell me. And I'm going to constantly be bringing this fact fluency into the classroom as much as possible. When I'm teaching long division, they're going to mimic. They're going to follow directions. That's a different skill than if I'm asking them to divide. See, division isn't always long division. Long division is only a very small part. The long division procedure is a very small part of the big idea of division. So I'm telling them this. I tell them there's 12 inches in a foot. Everybody say this with me. There's 12 inches in 1 foot. Perfect. And I say, how many inches? Oh, I did say this and they were really good. I said, how many inches in 1 foot? Then they were like 12. I said, how many inches in 2 feet? Actually, most of them were like 24. How many inches in 3 feet? 36. Some of them knew that. I said, but this goes to a little more than 39. So is this, so then I said to them, 3 feet is 1 yard. 1 yard is 3 feet, which is 36 inches. Then here was the final question. Is a meter or a yard bigger? Which is bigger, a meter or a yard? Now, even after that mini lesson, many of them didn't know, and I wasn't expecting them to know because just telling does not lead to learning. Do you see what I'm like the point I'm making here? There are times where we have to just tell, but we cannot have the expectation that it is learned. I'm going to tell and you're going to hear it, but you're not going to learn it. And that is okay, and that is the expectation. So I knew they weren't going to know, and I did not confirm or deny which was bigger. It didn't matter that day. So I said, here's the point. You're not going to use centimeters today. You're going to measure yourself in inches. Then the only other thing I modeled for them is I don't want you to use the meter stick to put up against someone. I said, and then I put the meter stick vertically, and the kids are like, we're all taller than that. I'm like, I know that's going to be a problem. I said, so when you are measuring each other's height, I want you to go to a surface on the wall. And I brought a student up and I said, just like when you go to the doctor and they have you put your back against the wall, I want you to put your hand on their head and then put your hand on the spot on the wall where their head is. The student walks away, and then that student, then you leave your hand there, that student can put the meter stick and measure. But the meter stick isn't going to be as tall as where your hand is. So you're going to have to put the meter stick up, and already you know that's 39 inches. You're going to have to add on the extra inches, pull the meter stick up. I knew they were not going to be able to do this. And I'm not worried about it, kids. Do you see? I want this to be a hot mess disaster. Natalie and I are both very type B math teachers. And we celebrated that so much yesterday because we are dang good. But we are very type B. The reason we are type B is more learning is going to happen when we let kids swim in the struggle. Okay? Now, oh my freak. So the classroom teacher had said to me before, I have to leave, I have to go to a meeting. But a sub will come in. And I'm like, perfect. I appreciate that. Natalie's a visitor. I teach at the high school. Like, they're so good about making sure that there's coverage. She said, I'll be gone for about 20 minutes or so. So the minute I'm ready to release kids is when she goes to her meeting. And this sub comes in. Oh. I don't even know what I needed. I needed like someone just to punch me in the face after this. Okay. So the sub comes in. I release the kids, and I had told the kids, I'm going to call you back table by table to do your weights, and then you're going to just do your heights. So we release the kids, and the kids are used to like going and doing things and collecting data and doing centers and stations. So they were trained to do this. So they went and they're measuring each other's heights. They're all on task and it's beautiful, except a couple kids. They were having a rough day. They stayed in their seats. One kid put his head down. I just ignored that. It's okay. Just let him be. I'm not going to force him to do anything today. Natalie had some good teacher talk with him a little bit, and she found out what was going on. And you can do those things with kids. And so we did that. But anyway, the kids were all measuring each other's heights. They were doing it all wrong. Okay. I knew this was going to happen. It's okay. I wanted somebody to come back and be like, I'm 78 inches. Because me personally, I'm 61 inches, and none of these kids are taller than me. So I wanted that to happen when we were ready to do their data points. So I'm back at the weighing station. Natalie's working with a couple groups and guiding them on facilitating them doing their measurements, like in a good pedagogy. The sub is back in the other corner, and he decides he can't these kids are doing it all wrong. So he has all those kids on that side of the So he has all those kids sit back down in their seats on that side of the room. Amy just put a little comment here. My prediction, the sub came in and began correcting each group. Yep. Not only that, he had all those kids sit down. He calls them back to him one at a time and measures them himself and tells them their number. Then has them go sit down and write their number of their height. I'm about to lose my ever-loving mind. But y'all, here's the thing. And I know he was a sub, and I'm not trying to knock him. I'm sure he's a very nice person. I don't know him, okay? But this is what I'm talking about in schools. Many of our regular classroom teachers do this. Y'all, this is not good teaching. This is why kids don't do things for themselves, because they know somebody's going to save them. This is why kids aren't independent, because they know somebody's going to do it for them. This is why kids don't have perseverance and persistence, because when they try to do it, they know the adult is going to come in and correct them and then do it for them. This is what's happening in schools, and it has to stop.
Can I add, even when they're 30 years old?
Boom. Now I'm going to stop right here. Let's have some discussion, some dialogue about what you've just heard. And maybe Natalie wants to start. Natalie, okay, so this was like a 3-hour long story, but Natalie, did I miss anything? Did I set us up right? What were your thoughts? What was going through your head? Kind of start us off in some of this dialogue right now. Go ahead.
No, I think you nailed all the points. And I was just like, I'm a visitor here, so I'm not going to go correct this guy. And I knew your head was exploding, and I was trying to talk to our little friend. I'm like, I'm just going to go facilitate with some of these kiddos over here. But same, I was like, stop doing it for them. I was like, I'm just a visitor. I'm not going to step on anyone's toes. But the kids I was talking with were just, yeah, just let them go, facilitate, but just let them do it. And they could, one group, I was like, okay, here's where your meter stick ends, here's how tall he is, how are we going to, and they're like, I just moved the meter stick up. I'm like, but where is this point? But I didn't show them how to mark that point. I was just like, but how are you going to know where you started so you can get that difference? And they were trying to figure it out. Did they all get there? No. But the beautiful example of the kids coming up that were taller than you, and the way you were able to still facilitate that, even though this half of the room just all had their really beautiful heights. Like, it still worked out in the end, and there's a lot of good that came out of it. But if all of the kids had been able to do that, but also my sixth graders could not have done what they did.
So let's talk about this piece of it, Natalie, because this is another teaching point
Yes.
here. I knew that when I went in, and I even said to Natalie, and I even said to the classroom teacher when I emailed her and said, hey, I'm bringing a visitor. This is what I'm going to do. So I said to Natalie and the classroom teacher in two different means, I said, look, we're going to do all this data collection. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be a circus. It's going to be a mess. I know this, and I want us to just let this happen. So I knew Natalie was coming as a visitor. I know who Natalie is, so I knew she was going to appreciate it anyway, but I wanted to deliberately and explicitly tell her it's going to be a disaster mess because we're going to have kids just like doing all this stuff. So I wanted to give them the expectation that let this happen. And of course, both of them are amazing. And I didn't even have to prep them because that's just how they instruct anyway. But I just let the kids go. I didn't talk to them about how do you work together in groups? How do you do this? How do you do that? How do you? Because I knew that they did this often. Like in our elementary schools, kids actually have more executive independent functioning skills than in our middle schools. This is what school does to them. It untrains them. Because when I go into elementary schools, no matter what elementary school I go in, first, second, third graders can operate in stations and centers very independently and can control their behavior. You go into a sixth, seventh, eighth grade classroom, and now the kids are out of the middle school teachers say to me all the time, John Lee, I can't have kids do groups. I can't have kids do stations. I can't because they can't do it. I'm like, that's funny because when these same kids were in first and second grade, they could. So that is not a problem with the kids. That is a problem with our school system. So Natalie made this good point. I actually was pretty impressed at how the kids did. It was chaos, but it was very controlled chaos. When I brought everybody together back, whole group, the way that I do it is a countdown system. I tell them explicitly what to do. There's a whole way that I bring kids back from transition. They ended up in their seats. They were absolutely quiet, except our girl that I had to say, stop talking. Like sometimes, even though she's a second grader, like she can't stop talking. I'm done being nice. So when you're talking over me, like I put my hand, I don't look at her. I'm like, stop talking. That was the point that she was at. Okay. Because everybody else was like ready. And I'm like, stop talking. Boom, she was done. And then we were able to talk whole group. I said to the kids, you guys, I was really impressed with how on task you were and how you did. And then that's when Natalie said, you all in second grade did that experience much better than my sixth graders would have. So anything you want to add on to that, Natalie? Because this is a good point also.
Yeah, I was excited to see what you did in elementary school, but slightly terrified because the tiny humans, and that's not this girl. But I'm going to learn something. It's going to be great. It'll be okay. I can do anything for 40 minutes. It's fine. But I was expecting like, what are they, 8? I don't even know. Just insanity. And I was like, oh my, like my sixth graders could not have done what they did. Being able to be up, moving around, doing what they were supposed to do, following those with a few exceptions, but mine would have been like half the class would be the exception. It just would have been not organized chaos, but just chaos.
John Lee, I want to close out Tier 1 Interventions podcast. And that is if you are listening to this podcast and you are thinking, how do I get involved? You want to head over to your show notes and click on the link. We are offering you to come to a session like this where you get all 2.5 hours at one shot for $47. You can then join another session for another $47, or you can buy the whole year for $497. Plus, you have to buy if you're going to go buy the whole year, you're going to have to buy level 1 as well. But the coaching and these conversations that we're having are $497. That sounds to me like a really good deal to really think the way you're thinking about not just mathematics, but occupational therapy delivery, speech therapy delivery, special ed delivery and how we're helping these kids rethink, re regulate, relearn, and think about life as whole.